You're dialed in to Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. Real talk, real tactics, and the stories that make it all worthwhile. Byron Velvick's Fish Tales is brought to you by Livingston Lures, Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Camus Boats. Without further ado, here's Byron.
All right, a little bit different. Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. Welcome to Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. And I know you know this guy. Look at his face. He is highly recognizable. Dave Mercer, thanks for coming on.
That's good. It's good to be on, Byron. This is odd and awkward for me to be the guy answering questions.
I'm going to make you really awkward, Dave, and you're going to start by doing your own. You're the best introduction guy there is on the planet. So I challenge you, Dave, to do an introduction for Dave Mercer as if you were talking about him. Go.
Oh my gosh, that is so horrible. No, I'm not doing it. I refuse. I'm going to walk off the set. You're going to have your first podcast walk-off right now.
Let me tell you, it's Dave Mercer, host of you are so good at this. This is why I'm doing this, because it's like I tried to do in my head what Dave Mercer would do for Dave Mercer on this podcast. I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing Fish Tales. I'm hosting a podcast. He's a two-time U.S. Open champion. He's a two-time Classic qualifier. He was blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's a whole list of credentials, but I'm like, to try to get all the credentials, I'm like, Dave Mercer. Who is Dave Mercer? Let's have him introduce himself.
All right, I'll do it.
Do your best job. I want to hear what Dave Mercer is.
Here's a guy that loves to fish and talks a lot. He has accomplished absolutely nothing. One of his greatest credentials is becoming a guest on this particular podcast. But hey, we had to start with somebody. Without further ado, Dave Mercer.
Oh no! Facts of Fishing, Bassmaster Elite, host of the Hall of Fame. One of Canadians' most known, if not the most known angler in the world of Canada fishing, and the U.S. now.
See, you're better. You're so much better.
I'm just throwing things out there, but I was loving to hear a Dave Mercer intro for Dave Mercer because, dude, you're the best at that. You are absolutely the best.
It's got a very arrogant feel to it to introduce yourself. I mean, I feel like I do the introductions. I just don't need an introduction. I'd rather just. I mean, it's funny because before every Bassmaster Elite Series event, it's funny for 15 years that I've been there, 16 years, whatever it is. They're like they'll go through the schedule. Okay, the anthem is at this time, and then they're like the Mercer intro, but there's no intro, dude. The intro is literally 27 different sponsors, brought to you by Minn Kota, Humminbird, Yamaha. Like, it's just a big list of them. And then at the very end, it says, and now here's Dave Mercer.
That's it? That's all I get?
That's all I need, dude. I mean, I'm there to... The person that intros the people is never the person you're there to see. I am there. I am a vocal fluffer.
You know what I love? And so this is a chance. And it's funny because I was talking to Rick and Melissa Clun about this. When they were talking about having a podcast, they're like, one of our first guests is going to be Dave for this exact reason. Everybody is going to get to learn about you instead of you dissecting every single little granola and minutia of us through a podcast. So the camera has turned around and I want to learn, okay, Dave, how did you get started with Bassmaster? Let's start there. How did the Bassmaster gig start?
Oh, wow. I mean, the Bassmaster gig, really, I give them credit all the time. It's due to Kevin Van Dam and Mark Zona. I mean, those were the two guys who threw kind of my hat in the ring for it. And before even that, my first big gig in the U.S. was the TTBC, the Toyota Texas Bass Classic. And thank God for that, because Lenny Francoeur, I don't know if you remember him, but Lenny from Octagon, the guys that ran that with the PA and everything, they made that event happen. I became friends with him through ICAST and the Classic and different events that I would attend. And Lenny literally called me one day and was like, hey, we are going to have this huge event. We're going to have, it's going to be on CBS. It's going to be all this. Like, he's explaining what those events were. I mean, and they were earth-shattering when you look at today's world. Like, they were so ahead of their time. So he's telling me, and he's like, we need a tournament MC. And the whole time I'm on the phone, and I'm like, holy crap. Teachers lied to me. They will call you and give you a job. You get. So he said, so we need an MC, and I'm waiting for it. And he goes, but don't worry, it's not you. But we think you could be a sideshow guy. And I was like, that's fine. I'll be the sideshow guy. So for the first year or two of the TTBC, I kind of ran around and did angler interviews, gave away stuff to kids. And that was my big first event at or in the U.S. And then that evolved into me emceeing that event. And then years later, the classic deal or Bassmaster deal happened. But basically, I threw it out there. I did an Oprah. One day I was with Zona and Kevin at ICAST. We had a lot of nights at ICAST. You as well.
Insert picture here, by the way, because the picture. Okay, podcast. Figure out Byron Velvick editing. Riverside. Insert the coolest picture you've ever shared. Rest in peace. God bless. I'll save it to Aaron, you, me, Zona, KVD. Epic ICAST night.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that was this night, but it might have been. Who knows? No, I don't think. No, because I was working for Bass by that point. But basically, I threw it out there, and I was like, man, if there's anything I could ever do, because I grew up a bass fishing geek. Like I was obsessed with it. I don't know why, but I loved fishing. But bass fishing for me was everything. And I said, if there's ever anything I can do at Bass. If they're ever looking, and I'm thinking, like, at the time, the internet was kind of a emerging technology, and I'm like, maybe I can do some internet stuff or whatever. Lo and behold, throwing that out there at the exact same time that I didn't even know at the time when I threw it out there, but Jerry McInnes, Don Logan, and Jim Copeland were buying Bass from ESPN. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And I didn't know, but their plan was to get a new MC. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting the opportunity to work for Bass. It's just a wild.
So was that Zona? Was that Zona and Van Dam? And I mean, that's those are our boys. I mean, we're hanging with them all the time. So did they say, "Hey, this is the guy"? Because I remember you at the Toyota Texas Classics, and I fished those, and I remember you working the room kind of thing, and morphing into that guy for that event. Was it those guys saying, "Hey, this would be the guy to be on stage at Bass"? Was that the inspiration for it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just threw my hat. And, I had to go for several different interviews and stuff like that. But they just said, hey, we know a guy. Like, when you go to hire a tournament MC, there's a lot of people qualified to do it, obviously. It's not
but
like...
none better than you, my friend, because you knocked that thing out of the park. And when we were at the Hall of Fame for Skeet's induction, I watched you handle that Master of Ceremonies thing at the Hall of Fame in Springfield. And I'm like, man, you got a gift and a talent, and you are in your element with this thing, aren't you?
I've always liked talking. I mean, I've literally, I think I won the speech contest every year in my grade school. And I think a lot of it stems from, like, when I was 5, my family moved from Ireland to Canada. And
so you were born in Ireland?
Yeah, I was born in Belfast. Lived there till I was 5 years old. My mom was Catholic. My dad was Protestant, which I always tell people made me Canadian. Because at the time, that wasn't a very popular mixture.
Right.
And so we moved to Canada, and me being like this, I've just always been somebody who talks. I mean, my dad was like that. My mom was a great talker, great communicator. So I think it comes from them. And when I first went there, I mean, I remember teachers literally standing me on the desk and getting me to tell stories because I was this little kid with an Irish accent, right? So they thought it was so cute. So I think it's my need for attention stems from that, I guess. I don't know.
Were you bass fishing back then? I mean, were you bass fishing? When did you start bass fishing? And obviously it worked for you, but how did it get going? How did you very first start?
Well, I mean, I was into fishing from day number one. Like, even in Ireland, there were stories of us mackerel fishing, and there's certain things that I think the really lucky people in life somehow stumble onto the thing that they're meant to do.
Right.
And I don't know, when I say meant to do, that doesn't mean you're the best at it. Doesn't mean that just means that there's a place, and everybody has those. Everyone listening to this has a place where they're like, I just feel there, like I'm supposed to be, like this feels like home. It feels comfortable. And the two places for me have always been on the water or public speaking. So it's kind of,
Wow.
you ran into it. But the bass fishing thing, weirdly, like we moved to Canada. My dad was a fisherman and took us out fishing, and we go, there's walleye, there's pike, there's all sorts of stuff you fish for. But for whatever reason, I was just obsessed with bass. Like I didn't want to catch anything else. Like even when they were fishing for other things, I was always fishing for bass. And then somewhere along the way, I stumbled into, TNN Outdoors with Bob Cobb and Ray Scott, and it became, my Sunday thing. Like I would, watch. I mean, I literally had a VCR up till just a few years ago to keep watching tapes of, name
man.
like the Dusty Pines winning on the Rat on Thousand Islands when you used to be able to win on Thousand Islands with a largemouth freaking bass.
I fished that tournament in that little isolated lake in the river. He wins with a rat, a frog rat thing. I remember that tournament. I was there for that tournament, and that was like, to your point, nobody knew about the big brownies living out there, or they couldn't get to them, and it wasn't the thing that it was. But I remember Dusty Pine winning on a frog rat in that. You know more about it than I do, but that's so ironic you brought that tournament up.
Yeah, no, but I remember so much from those days. So I was just obsessed with bass fishing always. And then, when I got to, we moved to a lake. I lived near Lake Ontario. I grew up fishing a lot of steelheading and a lot of, tributary fishing on rivers that come off of Lake Ontario. But then we moved to a lake, and it's the lake I actually live on right now, Lake Scugog. And it was about 30 minutes north of where we lived, and it's a bass fishing lake. And from that day forth, I was like, man, I'm not going to do anything but fishing. The whole way through school, I guided, and I was that kind of weird kid.
Elementary school, high school, college. You just fish.
Oh, there was no college in my future. I'm not real book smart, Byron.
It ended on your 4-year. No. You got your GED and got out.
Yeah, that was not going to be in the future for me. And so I fished tournaments every summer and kind of made my living through doing that and guiding. And then when school ended, I was like, I did that for a while. But even then I was like, man, I love this, but I don't love this lifestyle. Like that. And
were you just fishing tournaments like a lot of us? Like after school, you just went and fished the tour?
Yeah. I just fished a bunch of tournaments and a lot of guiding. And that's how I made. And luckily, it's here. I always tell people the easiest way to make it as a professional angler, or however you want to classify it, the easiest way to make any of those things is just start real early when you have zero to replace. Like you get these people who have like jobs and real careers, and they're making $75,000, $80,000 a year, and they want to replace a good friggin' luck. I needed to replace $6,000 that I made the year before. So it was pretty easy. But I remember my mom was like your typical Irish mother, that, and I understand her now because I have kids. When you have kids, all you want is for them to be safe and happy. And my mom used to bring home like newspaper clippings of like gas stations hiring and stuff because like she just thought like, at least I know he'll have a job. Like she just couldn't fathom in her head how is fishing. Like if you think it's tough to make it as a pro angler in California, try doing that in freaking Canada. Where like everybody's like, what? You're gonna move out to the Maritimes and be a lobster fisherman? No, I'm gonna be a professional bass fisherman. So yeah, no.
They thought you were gonna be on Deadliest Catch. You're telling everybody I'm fishing for a living, and they got you on Mrs. Gordon's Fish Sticks box with your yellow slicker on, and there's Dave Mercer, Mrs. Gordon's Fish Stick guy, because they can't relate to that. Well, because your water's frozen half a year, Dave. I mean, hard to guide and fish tournaments when it's like, I'll start in June and be done by October. That's it.
A lot of the guiding I did too was for walleye because our bass season opens so late.
Right.
But I would like hammer down, like when it came to fishing, I am very lazy individual in real life. I always say that, like, people see me run around Bassmaster events and they're like, you have so much energy. And I'm like, yeah, but if I had a real job, I would be the laziest dude on the crew.
Like, you just love your job.
If we were digging a ditch, they'd be like, Mercer is so lazy. But when it came to fishing, I was that energy. So I would, for 40 days in a row every year, I would book at least 2 trips a day for walleye until bass season opened. So I'd do 2 a day, 3 a day sometimes, where I'd bring them out and, fish for a few hours in the morning. Then I'd have a second group you bring out in the afternoon, sometimes an evening group. But I would hammer down just so I could fish when bass opened.
So you're guiding, and I mean, you're guiding a lot. Then all of a sudden, the public speaking gets to come back into the mix, and you get to get a little bit of time in front of a camera or radio. I mean, how does it start where you're fishing tournaments, you're doing a lot of guiding, and then all of a sudden Mercer gets a light shined on him? What was the beginning of that? Long before Bassmaster and long before the Texas Fishing Classic stuff.
Oh, yeah. So I told you, I love tournament fishing, but I didn't love the lifestyle. And I think that's also why I have a good, healthy respect for what you guys do. I mean, the way that you guys leave for months at a time, I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And even when I was in my early 20s, I'm like, this is cool, but one day I want to have kids, and I don't want this to be my life. So I started focusing on like TV and doing stuff. And at the time, everybody was doing a half-hour show, and I actually started pitching. And at the time, it was super innovative. I started pitching this thing that originally started, and it was called the 60-second fishing reel. And they were just 60-second clips that would air. At one point, they were airing 500 times a week. But initially, I pitched this, and which doesn't sound that novel now because there's a lot of that kind of short-form stuff out. But at that time, there was none of it. And it was my kind of answer to
where was it airing? I mean, so where is the 60-second spot popping up? Is it your local cable provider or just in Canada or what?
It started in Canada. It started on a channel called the New VR. And the New VR was, which is still called the New VR, but it's not new anymore. But at the time, it was kind of the network that was just north of Toronto, so it was on its way to cottage country. So somehow I had thought, like, hey, that's the perfect place for me to start doing these fishing tips. And for 6-8 months, I called this guy, Bill Patrick, the station program director, relentlessly. Like, I would call every week, probably every couple weeks, and I'd call and I'd just be like, hey, and I'd leave him a voicemail, and I sent him some stuff. And I'm certain, well, I know for a fact, because he did end up telling me, like, the only reason I let you in the door was so you'd stop calling, like, every week.
Persistent.
Yeah. And I mean, I wasn't pushy or anything. I was just like, hey, I got something I want to. So I go up to the New VR, and at the time, I mean, I was broke as a joke. I was driving a Nissan Pathfinder that had the bottom of the rotted out. Like, literally, my friends used to call it caramel corn because
no way.
Because it was, the color of it was kind of brownish like caramel corn. And weirdly, if you drove for over an hour, the floor mats would start to catch fire, and
what?
It smelled. Yeah, well,
it was rusted out. I mean, so the bottom of it was rusted out.
Yeah, in Canada we deal with a thing called rust,
so.
and the bottom of it is rusted. I'm pretty sure I bought a fake certificate from some guy, so that it was safety, so it would actually go on the road. But I drive caramel corn up there, and I meet with the guy, and the guy says, "Well, did you go to broadcast school?" And I said, no. And he said, well, do you have any experience in TV? And I was like, I was on it once. And he kind of, I remember, like, looking back, I remember thinking, like when I look back now, I was too nervous to even think at the time, but when I look back now, I looked like a total idiot. But he said, so where's your boat? And I said, well, it's an hour and a half from here. He said, well, go get your boat. And he says, bring it back. And he says, we'll do a screen test with you.
Wow.
I didn't know what a screen test was.
Wow.
So I drove back to my house, get my boat, had to beg my mom for some money for gas. I'm like, I'm telling you, Mom, this is a big deal. I need gas money to get back. So I get the gas money. I go back. I walk into the station, and I remember walking in and being like, I'm here for my screen test. And I mean, the girl at reception must have been like, who is this idiot? So we get a camera person, put the person on the back deck of the boat, like I bring them out, launch the boat, put them on the back deck of the boat. And I said, so what do you want me to do? And he says, well, what did they tell you to do? And I said, they said, I have a screen test. And he's like, well, just talk about fishing. Like, give me a fishing report from this year. So I rattled off some crap about like the weed growth, and it was behind that year. So if you can find healthy green weed, there'll be more oxygen and blah, blah, blah. And we shoot this thing, and then the camera guy starts packing up the camera and says, all right. I'm like, are we done? He's like, yeah.
Wow.
I got to get back to the network. So I drop him back off at the station, and I
Wait, you had him in Carmel, so you're towing him around in Carmel Corn with the floorboards.
Oh, yeah. No,
he's on the death ride with you. He's in the jalopy, going to the lake in the jalopy, coming back.
Yeah.
Your camera guy's going, what's going on? What's going on here?
But I was prepped for this trip. Just so you know, the fool that I was, I would carry pop bottles full of water. Like I'd fill them full of water, because if you drove for over an hour, you don't want to always be stopping, right? So you just wet the floor mats, and they wouldn't catch fire. So
you don't even borrow a tow vehicle for your screen test. I'm hearing that you go to the network television, and you're trying out for a job on television, and you got a Deathmobile for your tow vehicle for the opening act.
Well, I didn't look at it like that at the time.
I love it. I love it. So you get back to the station, and apparently you knocked it out of the park. They loved you.
No, I got back to the station, and the guy says, okay, see you later. And I said, see you later. And I remember sitting in the parking lot being like, oh, I guess I'm done. So I didn't have a cell phone or anything at the time. I mean, the cell phones at the time were people with the big box, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Nobody
antenna,
used them.
The drug dealers with the beepers, the fake ones in the car.
Dude, I literally, this is a true story. I literally ran my business off a beeper for 2 years and faked that it was a voicemail. Like,
no.
I don't think I've ever told this story publicly. But for 2 years, I had a beeper, and I paid the extra money so that when you called it, there was actually a voicemail. And I'd be like, hi, you've reached Dave Mercer. Sorry I missed your call. Let me call you back.
So the
beeper would go off. And then I'd listen to the message, and I'd have to go to a payphone and be like, oh, sorry, I missed you. I just stepped away from my desk.
You were acting all big time.
So back to the original story. So I go home. And my mom's like, so what happened? I'm like, well, I don't know. And she says, well, there's a message on the answering machine for you. And I said, oh, okay. So I go to the answer machine, and it's Bill Patrick. And he said, it looked great. You better watch the news tonight, because you're going to be on it.
No
and I'm like,
way.
I made it. I'm on TV. So
the screen test was actually, the screen test went?
That very night, they put it on.
Awesome.
And that's how it started. And for like several months, it was just on every Wednesday night. You would see this 60-second fishing reel, and it was part of the news. The sports guy would be like, and now for this week's fishing tip. And then I'd come out.
Oh my gosh!
And dude,
did your mom have like tears of joy flowing down her face, and she's ripping up all the gas station help wanted ads because now her son's on television every Wednesday night? Like, no, what a metamorphosis from go get a job at a gas station to pay your bills to that's my boy.
Well, no, it wasn't quite that smooth, because I wasn't getting paid squat for it. I was just on TV, right?
You were famous.
I'm famous. Look at me. So it took I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months until I kind of figured out how sponsorship on TV works. And like, nobody told me. I started pitching companies, and they became a sponsor, and I built up some sponsors, and then it kind of evolved. We ended up not being with the VR anymore. We ended up being with a bunch of different channels in Canada. TSN, which was the ESPN, basically, of Canada at the time. the Weather Network, which
How
is the
old are
Weather
you when
Channel.
this is all happening? So this is going from that. What's your age at that? Early 20s?
Early 20s, probably 22, 23. And I kind of milked that for years, like fish tournaments, did these tips, built them up to like I said, they were at one time airing 500 times a week.
Wow.
And I thought, and we were airing on cool things like, and that was our whole sales pitch where I would go to these companies. I'd be like, you can sponsor a fishing show. But the difference is most fishermen, most anglers don't watch fishing shows. And that's still true today. Only the super hardcore do. And,
Right.
and I was like, the majority of anglers they're just not enough into it that they watch fishing shows or read fishing magazines. Only the hardcores do. This speaks to everybody. So we actually aired like during the Daytona 500 when there was like 10 laps to go and like a bunch of cool things.
Wow.
So for years I did that. And I was happy doing that. I mean, I loved it, and I fished tournaments, and then one thing led to another. I got asked to do like a celebrity event, like charity event type thing, to MC it, and started doing that. And
So you
then
were doing
started
tournaments
doing-
and television, and then you just got, and this is all in Canada still. Like none of
Yeah.
this was the Texas stuff. That was all
No.
down the road. This is you doing the little video spots, then the more bigger, the larger television shows, and then they're like, hey, host a tournament for us, or try out hosting a tournament.
Well, no, I stuck with the tips for a long time, and yeah, it was like, I mean, you know how it works in fishing. You work with a company, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're having this event. Would you mind speaking at it? Would you mind? And I had fun with it, so I emceed a couple of tournaments.
Did you like it? I mean, did you like that? I've done a few of those, and did you really enjoy being the guy with the microphone on the stage more so than being behind the camera or fishing tournaments? I mean, was that kind of like, this is because obviously you love public speaking. 5th grade, you're doing the little Irish accent. So was that the moment where you're like, I think this is really my favorite thing to do, or I prefer this more than just being in the grind of it all?
No, I loved it right away. I didn't think it was what I would do. Like I would have never imagined that, hey, one day I'll work for Bass. I mean, I thought, hey, this is cool. I'll do these sponsors. There's not a lot of people. I mean, that there's still today not a lot of anglers that are young anglers that are real proficient talking on a microphone. You know what I mean? And getting the message out. So it instantly set me aside from all the other guys trying to get sponsorships and stuff. So there was that part of it, and I did really enjoy it. I still really enjoy it. So yeah, I didn't crave to be the angler. I grew up loving what Ray Scott did, loving what Fishburne did, and I always thought that is here's how weird I am, Byron. When I was a little kid, we'd go on like school trips, and we'd go whatever museum, and you know how like there's always the guy at the front of the bus that's like, if you look to your right, you'll see this. If you look to your left, you'll see this. Yeah. I remember being a little kid thinking, gosh, I wish I had that job.
No,
I mean, you just make jokes and have fun and like that. So yeah, I felt very at home doing it.
That's awesome. So the gift of gab, and then like that just being the ambassador to everything and talking about stuff. Even as a kid, you love that. Yeah,
big time. And then, so I kept at that. And the only reason I started doing a half-hour show actually was because when Bass Pro moved to Canada, they hired me as I'll show you how this is so funny. When Bass Pro first moved to Canada, and people in the States don't understand this because they're like, well, how does somebody not know what Bass Pro is? But at the time, nobody had an idea of what Bass Pro was, like so much so that they had a job fair. And I remember we would joke about it because they had a job fair and all these people are filling out these applications, and it would say like, why do you think you'd be a good team member at Bass Pro? And people would answer stuff like, I've been into stereos my whole life. They thought it was Bass Pro. Like they not, you know what I mean? There's no logo or anything. It's just a job fair for this.
So serious. I've been playing the bass. You're like, son, wrong Bass Pro.
So they hired me early on, like before the store even opened. They hired me to be their national spokesperson at the time. And one of the things that we end up doing is we end up doing this DVD series. And say in the time the show name had changed to Facts of Fishing and whatever, the tips were Facts of Fishing. So then I did this video DVD series that sold incredibly well. And that kind of put the pressure on to come out with a half-hour show. I'd avoided a half-hour show always, but then I came out with a half-hour show, and thank God it was somewhat successful. And, you know,
But then you also did something which I didn't want to talk to you about this off camera. I wanted to save this for the podcast. But the underwater stuff, man, what's that about? Like you got into all the underwater, and I had no idea that was a big passion of yours and a big part of what you do in production now. What was that about? Explain it all to me, this underwater stuff.
Well, underwater didn't. My obsession with underwater. I mean, I think every angler's obsessed with underwater. Just seeing that world. And that didn't kind of develop until that's probably the most recent thing that has kind of developed. Let me tell you how I started. Like one of the reasons that I started working in the States more was this before we get into the underwater. Cause I do want to talk about
the underwater was tied in. I didn't know if the underwater was. Okay, so you weren't wearing a dive suit going under in Canada.
No. I wasn't at that time. No.
Go ahead. Tell me
how
to make it to the States then. I jumped forward.
So it's fine. You're a new podcaster. The fact that you actually have a plan proves that you're already way more professional than my show because we just let her rip. But I think a lot of Canadians and a lot of people, for me anyways, I'd always been like, man, we got to get the show. Because our show had got to a very good level in Canada. Things were great. And I'm always, what's next guy. And I think a lot of people that I know are like that. A lot of tournament anglers are like that. That's what drives them. And the next thing for me was the U.S. Like I was like, we got to get the show in the U.S. because no Canadian show had really made a big impact in the U.S. There was a lot of great shows that have been in Canada, but they kind of tiptoed in the U.S. But I wanted to make a big impact in the U.S. So believe it or not, when you guys were doing your ESPN thing, I actually had a deal, on paper deal, with ESPN Outdoors to bring Facts of Fishing to the U.S. And dude, I was giddy I couldn't tell.
So right when ESPN did the new fishing network, ESPN2, Bass Center, the Garage, Zona's Loudmouth Bass, and all that.
Well, it was at the tail end of that, and that's what kind of screwed me because we had done this deal with Tom. What was his name? Tom.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can picture him. And not Shapiro and not Dan, but yeah, I remember Tom.
Anyway, so we had a deal, and the show was gonna air on ESPN. I was like all giddy, like I can't wait till we can announce that we're gonna be part of the ESPN Outdoors block.
Oh my gosh!
And then he called me up like a few days before we were about to announce it, and he said, "Hey, if you want your deal's your deal. We're good. But I can't in good faith not tell you this." He said, we just bought the right to English Premier League soccer. And he said, so the entire outdoor block is going to be preempted. Well, he didn't say it was going to be gone at the time, but that was the writing on the wall. And he said, so your show will air every week, but he said it's a new show. And I don't know if you want to get into a situation where you got a brand new show and now you're preempted all the time. And, it's hard to build. So I was screwed. So now I'm not on ESPN and I'm like, well, where do I go? I tried to talk to Spike at the time, the old TNN. And I remember the girl said, like, I had this great repertoire, or whatever the word is.
Repertoire.
Yeah, that's it.
I went to college. To college.
You see the difference?
That's all I got out of it. You know what? I spent $100,000 so I could say repertoire today, Mercer. I think you did pretty good by not going. Repertoire. And then what?
And so this girl was so wonderful, and I was dealing with her, and she said, So everybody I think at this point knows to be on outdoor TV, you buy your airtime most of the time. And then
I was going to ask you if it was a
sell
time
it.
buy. Time buy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it was time buy. And then you sell it to sponsors. And I mean, it's no different than a lot of other business. It's very different than what people think of TV, but that's how outdoor TV works. So I remember
but to back up, but see, that was the beauty of it. I want to clarify that when you were to do ESPN, like I did, going Coastal and Bass Center, they're just paying you, and you're the guy. I mean, that was what was going to happen. You weren't doing a time buy on ESPN, right?
No, I was doing.
You were just going to be given. All you were was going to be another one of those celebrities on ESPN, and they give you a bunch of money, and you don't have to sell the show, and you don't have to worry about a time buy. And that was a beautiful time, wasn't it? Back then, when a network would just say, Mercer, you know what? We're NBC Sports. We're going to hire you. You do the show. We're taking care of everything. And you're going to get a flat, big salary for doing it.
I'm sure it was. I never got to experience it, Byron. Only the selected few like you.
Well, it went away as you were going in. It didn't last real long, and then it went away. And then we're all struggling time buys. I was right there with you in the trenches on those.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and do a time buy. Did you end up doing
I did. No. So I talked to Spike, and I remember the girl was like, "It'll be $50,000 or something," and I'm like, "I think we can do this," because I'm thinking it's $50,000 a year.
Right. Yeah.
Then she sent me the contract. It's $50,000 a freaking episode, Byron. I'm like, we owe these people like $2 million. What the? So I was shattered.
You thought it was $50,000 for the whole year for your show?
Oh, I didn't know. She was a very nice girl. Up until, I didn't
What a
think it was.
shock. Did you erase your signature from the contract? You're like, yeah, no, we're not doing this.
No, I didn't think it was going to be $50,000 for the year. But when she said we could do it for $50,000, I thought, wow. Like, I mean, again, I'm very much a person who just, hey, you never know. We might be able to make that happen. And then I said, well, send me the deal and we'll look at it. And she sent it, and it was for it was $2 million or whatever. Yeah. Like, it was insane. And I'm like, yeah. So at that moment, I decided, like, I cannot afford to be on American television. Like, there's no, like, I was shattered. I'm like, I went from a week ago, I was about to be part of the ESPN Outdoors block, and now I'm just wasting this lady's time talking about $2 million deals that there's no chance. So the weird thing is, that's why, if you remember, years before I worked for Bass, there was this little this thing I did called Facts of Fishing FYI, which was like the news thing where every week it was on the internet and it was just me talking about, hey, Skeet won Angler of the Year, Kevin won a tournament, like me just giving a report on different things. And they were kind of shot. It was kind of like Tosh 2.0 of fishing version, but Tosh 2.0 wasn't even a thing at the time. So it was way ahead of its time. But that, ironically, so that was my answer to, like, how do I make an impact in the U.S. market without spending $2 million? So we started doing that. And the cool thing is, that's one of the things that Jerry McInnes really loved that I did. It just turned out. So it's weird the way that, I mean, that's such a weird, twisting story, but everybody's life is. But that's how I kind of broke into the U.S. market, through those tips that, I mean, at one time, Bass Fan would post them every week. We had them, we were getting a lot of traffic. And it wouldn't stand out today because there's so much of that kind of thing. But at that time,
it was so unique at the time.
Yeah.
You were doing the cool little, and I remember this. You were doing the cool little sound bites and the little bullets when nobody realized that the attention span was perfect for that. Like, you were hitting on those cylinders very early, right place, right time, and you realized that elongated show, that long drawn out thing, whether it was a pro tip or whatever, but 20, 30 minutes, it was like you were losing the viewers, but we just didn't know it because we didn't have what we have now, which is, man, what you had was so unique at the time. And I remember that.
I was just lucky too. Like, I mean, it's easy to be like, I knew this. I knew nothing. I just everything in my life is a means to an end. Like, even fishing, you know what I mean? Like, I just knew I didn't want to stop fishing. I had to figure out a way to make a living from it. So yeah, that's kind of how I broke into the U.S. market and one thing led to another,
And once you're with, I mean, JM and Associates, that's who I went to start doing my shows with when they came to me after, same thing, after ESPN, you're like, what do I do now?
yeah, yeah. So, well, I mean, the craziest thing. So I knew none of them. I didn't know Mike McInnes, Jerry McInnes, or anybody. And I had met with Mike. I had met with Tim Schick, who used to work there. Obviously,
He was my producer.
Yeah,
Tim
Schick's
Schick
great.
was one of my
Passed
producers.
away,
Yeah,
obviously. Rest in peace to Tim Schick.
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know? No, yeah, he passed several years ago. A great man, but he passed away.
I didn't know.
But the funniest part of that whole story was I'd met with Mike McInnes, I'd met with Schick, and spent enough time with different Wes Miller, different people that shot there. Had spent enough time with, like, they had me on Zona's show, and I thought I was just being a guest, but it turns out they were kind of like checking me out to see how I was like to work with and whatever. So it finally, and again, I just wanted to work for Bass. I didn't care about, like, I wasn't like, I want to be the tournament MC, or I just wanted a job with Bass. So they get to the point where they're like, hey, so we're going to hire you if Jerry McInnes stamps this. Like, if Jerry's good with you. So now, for the first time, I don't get nervous, but for the first time ever, I'm nervous. Like, I'm like, this is nerve-wracking. So I fly to
Mike, Jerry's son, for those who are, so Mike McInnes, Jerry's son, is on board. Everybody's on board, but you got to go to the man himself. You got to go to Mike's dad, Jerry McInnes, and he has to put the stamp of approval on Dave Mercer being in the JM and Associate family.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now I'm nervous. So now I'm like, I've got this opportunity to work for Bass, and so I fly to Little Rock. And you've been to the JM studios. They're pretty impressive. It's kind of like that old warehouse feel. You know what I mean? Like the kind of urban warehouse, like however you want to refer, like big loft feel to it.
Right.
But you're walking down the hallway, and like you see, like, bass fishing history is everywhere. Like the shirt that Takumi wear when I knew it. Like, that's right there on the wall. Like everything is all, surrounding me. So I'm, that's making me a little more nervous. But I sit down with Jerry, and when you have a meeting with Jerry, it's not like a traditional interview where you're like, you ask a few questions. It was 3 hours. It was a 3-hour freaking conversation. And we talked about smallmouth bass. We talked about baseball. We talked about his dog Arch was like sitting up on the couch with me while I was talking. And dude, I'm allergic to dogs, but I pet the shit out of Arch. Like, I was like, if Arch bites
I'll take
me,
a bullet. I'll take the medicine later for this.
So ultimately it gets to this point where, and I've told this story a few times before, but they had just bought Bass, and Jerry had already told me that he'd like, if they hire me, they want me to MC Bassmaster and the Classic and everything.
Wow.
And so like I told you, our conversation went all over the place, kind of like most of my conversations. But Jerry says, and the reason I look over my shoulder is because a piece of that story is hanging right over my shoulder. But Jerry says, we get off in this tangent about their new ownership and how they're getting so much support, which every owner of Bass, I'm certain, if you own Bass for 6 months, the world loves you.
Right.
The first 6 months, everybody loves you. And then they end up hating everybody that owns Bass. It's just literally, it's literally if you watch every ownership. So Jerry says, we got so much support, Mercer. Like, you're not going to believe it. Like, this magazine wrote about us and this show talked about us. He goes, and even this magazine in Japan, they wrote about us. And the magazine was Basser Magazine, which you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he pulls it open and he shows me, like, in this magazine where there's an article about him, Don, and Jim buying Bass.
Oh.
And he goes, it's amazing. Even in Japan, they're talking about us. And then he makes some joke and he's like, but I can't read it, so I don't know what they're saying. And dude, I have a bad habit. My dad used to tell me growing up, make sure you're brain is in gear before you put your mouth in drive. I have still not mastered that. I get myself in trouble all the time.
Your brain is in gear before you put your mouth in drive.
Before I could even think it, I turned to Jerry and I'm like, I can read it to you. And he goes, what? And I said, I can read it to you. And
You did not. You did not.
And as I say this, like inside, on the outside, I'm super cool. Like, do you want me to read it to you or not, Jerry? On the inside, all I can think about is calling my wife, Sarah, on the way home and being like, I screwed it up. I mean, it was going good. And
Your brain was there and hit the clutch button and you shoved it in drive and it was like,
So he's looking at me like I'm nuts, but and I'm like, Jerry, do you want me to read it to you or not?
Oh, you are such a bluffer.
He hands me the magazine, and dude, I don't know if it was relatives that have passed on that have possessed my body. I've never been able to duplicate it as smooth as it was that day. But basically, I said something like, Jerry McInnes has been a leader since his early days with the Oakland Athletics Baseball Association. He reinvented fishing television as we know it. And then further pushed it with his work with FLW and tournament coverage like we've never seen before. So it just keeps going on, and then ultimately ends up with, and we at Bassmaster Magazine have it from our sources that he's about to make one of the most prudent business decisions of his entire life and hire Dave Mercer to MC the Bassmaster Classic. And dude, when I stopped saying that, I looked at Jerry and like I swear to you, I could feel like everybody's been in that situation where you feel like your pulse, dum 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 dum.
It's like the movie. This is it, right?
It was, dude.
Like Jerry McInnes, you can hear the ice cracking. You know, and you're looking over, Mercer's looking over, and the ice is just melting and cracking in the cup because here it comes, right? It's either going to go that way or you're banished.
Tell
me.
So there's like a pause, and Jerry, Jerry, you dealt with Jerry over there. Jerry had a great laugh, but Jerry's also a very stoic kind of character. When you're talking to me, you can tell if I like the story or don't. My face reacts. I'm very reactionary. He's not that way. So he's just kind of been like this the entire time I've been reading. And then I hand him back the magazine after I say that, and he looks at me and he looks up and he looks back at the magazine, looks up, and then he's like, finally he says, you don't read Japanese, do you? And I said,
my gosh.
No, Jerry, no, I don't. And he stood up, shook my hand, and said, you'll do pretty good at this job, and literally hired me on the spot. And it was the dumbest yet smartest thing I ever did my entire life.
My gosh. And, okay, so wait, is the Bassmaster Magazine, I can put my glasses on, is the magazine back there?
It is. Hold on, I'll get it for you.
The actual Bassmaster Magazine of where you read the article is in there.
There it is.
Oh,
it's signed by Jerry.
Oh, I love that story and love that. That is amazing.
Yeah, he wrote on it, Dave, this issue will never be forgotten. Proud of you and our friendship, Jerry McInnes. So,
wow.
It's very, very cool to...
Hey, before we go any further, because I've always wanted to do this, I've never had the chance. I want you just to walk me around your studio because I've been on your podcast a bunch of times. I got the glasses on. I've looked behind you and I'm trying to figure out what stuff is. Give me a quick rundown of what I'm looking at behind you right now.
Okay,
trophies. I see trophies. I see Abu Garcia. I see a bunch of little bobbleheads. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a bunch of bobbleheads.
Are they the fishing guy bobbleheads or?
Just a few fishermen. They're just a lot of different. Most of it's stuff that people have given me over the years.
Okay.
Some cool, like that medal that you see hanging there. That was a buddy of mine, Jade, just gave that to me. That's an actual Special Olympics medal right there. Yeah.
And a couple of the other bullets, because you decorated some cool stuff back there. I've never known what was behind us when we did the podcast.
You're ruining everything. But
why?
This is something cool. This is the confetti from every single classic champion that I've been on stage to MC.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so cool,
So it's
Dave. That is
it's
awesome. That is a fantastic one.
yeah, it starts with Kevin Van Dam because he won the first classic I emceed, and obviously the last one was won by Easton
So
Fothergill.
every single classic, when it's over, you pick up and put in your pocket a
Yeah.
little bit of confetti.
Yeah, I go
I
back
never knew
out
this.
there
I never
with
knew
a little
this.
baggie that I'm never prepared for. I always run around asking people for a Ziploc or whatever. Sometimes it's a turned inside out popcorn bag or whatever because you'd think I'd be prepared.
So every single final day, every announce the angler, the champion, and Mercer picks up a handful of confetti and it goes in right there.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that.
yeah. It's
All
pretty,
right,
it's
what else we
pretty
got?
cool.
What else we got? Walk me through it. What else we got?
I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I got Denny Brower's Wheaties box. I think I've shown you these.
Oh yeah, the old videos we did.
That was Aaron. And then
Yeah,
there's this
you had-
other dude. There's this
You
other
had the
dude.
collection, the swim bait guy. Yeah, Top Gun. And they called me the Iceman back then. I was like, I thought I was
You
inspired by Top
freaking
Gun.
did look like Val
But you have the
Kilmer.
whole video series of Labina Lures, VHS,
Yeah.
if you don't. VHS.
All
Oh
of
my
them. Yeah, yeah. I
gosh.
got a bunch. Like that's what I told you. I'm a fishing weirdo. But I think that's also everybody I know who works in this world, no matter what they do, whether they're a tournament angler, a TV show host, or even an industry, even a rep, you have to be obsessed by it. Like you're the same. But I think that's why we all kind of, when we all get together, we all get it because we were a bunch of outsiders that, growing up, everybody was like, yeah, you idiot. What are you fishing for? Like, well, it's such a waste. And there's other people like us in the world, and that's what things like the classic are like, because we all get together and you're like, yeah, there's others just like me. But yeah, no, they got a lot of coolish stuff back there. And
That is, I've always looked behind you. I've seen bobbleheads, I've seen all that stuff, and I'm like, because I got the pinball machine back here, the Fishtails. The name of the
I
show
like
is
that.
Fishtails because when I won the U.S. Open the second time, we had a sports agent. Me and Aaron Martins, Robert Lee, John Murray, Donna Casase was our sports agent. They gave me that as a congratulations for winning my second Open. Was this? I had seen this at Lake of the Ozarks, but I got like my first double-digit bass and all the trophies and the $50,000 check. I don't know if you can see that over there. There's we always carry the Happy Gilmore checks around. So there's there's the old check.
nice.
And
Nice.
like Happy Gilmore, you just stick those in the back of the car. But I was
Put them in
curious
the
about
pinto.
put them in the pinto. But I was curious about your set and what you
I
had behind
got
there.
a lot of different stuff. You know what I mean? Like just from over the years, it's kind of special stuff that, some of it is, I don't know. It's just stuff that ends up that I'm lucky to accumulate. I mean, that's what life is.
What
really.
a crazy
We're just
story about
accumulating
Jerry
stuff.
McGinnis. I love this story about you and how it got. I mean, an amazing, crazy, risky move to sit there and pretend you read Japanese, knowing that your whole future laid in your hands on that bluff call. And because you had the punchline was hire Dave Mercer at the end. That's when he realized he had been hoodwinked.
Dude, I wish I was like, I had thought about it and I thought, here's my opportunity. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know why I said it. Like, it just came out of my mouth. And I was just like,
Dude, that's such destiny. That is such a great story of how that became the reality of you being the host, the voice, the master of ceremonies for Bassmaster. Wow. I
it's
love
weird.
it.
It's wild.
You must,
It's wild.
so you got to love it now. What's in the future for Mercer? What you got going? What are you doing next week? And go into the underwater stuff a little bit, because on my phone I always get, it's because we're friends, I subscribe to you and all that stuff, but I get those little Mercer shorts. The little Mercer shorts of the underwater things, bass eating a Byron Velvic swim bait, which hasn't happened yet, by Livingston Lures, because I'm going to do a shameless plug. But I haven't seen the Livingston Lure by Byron Velvic swim. But the Wiggle Water, all the underwater stuff, what's that about? And what are you doing with that?
A lot of that just is literally, my kind of evolving in the sport, like wanting to do different. I've always been a weirdo where I want to do things different. And I think there's a lot of people but I'm the kind of person, like when I see a new truck color, I'm like, that's the coolest color ever. But then when you see a bunch of people with it, you're like, I don't like that anymore. So I've always, in a way to push kind of the TV show, underwater became a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point that not that the people that I was working with couldn't shoot it. They could. I mean, they shot great stuff, but some stuff you just have to be obsessed with to do. So I just got into shooting more of it myself, and then that evolved into me loving it. Like it is to me, it's my passion. It is when I hear people talk about what it's like to sit in a tree stand. That's what it's like for me to swim with the fish. Like when I do. And I mean, a lot of the stuff you see on those.
So you're doing everything underwater. So, but you're putting on your scuba stuff, and you're going down there, and you're filming everything under the water with you. You're the guy. You're not having somebody else shoot it. You're the guy shooting it under the water. Someone's throwing the bait, throwing the thing, and you're capturing the visual.
Yeah, 90% of the time. I mean, we also. I mean, sometimes it's my son shooting it. Sometimes it's one of our camera guys shooting it. But most of the time, it's me, and it's not because again they can't do it. You have to be insane to do it. Like if you sent a camera guy out to get the stuff that we get, I mean, how does somebody get a great picture of an eagle? You spend a stupid amount of time doing it. Like I spent last year, I think I spent 40 full days shooting underwater. Just me, just full, 8, 12, 14-hour days. Like I'll go away on these underwater retreats where I'll go to areas and I'll just be there for 3-4 days, and I get up every day and I do that.
Oh my gosh! I didn't know you were that. I didn't know you were that much underwater. I had no idea they were doing all that.
Yeah, well, a lot of it. Every shot's different. Like a lot of the eats and stuff that get a lot of attention because they're eats. I mean. Sometimes I'm under the water. Sometimes it's a camera mounted down there that, is near a fish. Sometimes it's a camera on a pole. But as much as possible, I'm actually in the water with them because I just think they react the best. We can see all that on Facts of Fishing, right? So we just go to Dave Mercer's Facts of Fishing, and you can see everything we're talking about right now. All those cool little visual shorts that you're hitting my phone with all the time. Those are the things. Yeah, and that I want to do more and more with in the future.
That's your passion?
Yeah, it really. I mean, here's the weird thing. So we have bass opener here. I know, and then to a lot of U.S. that sounds weird. Like I remember Kelly Jordan said once, "Why do you have a bass closer?" And I agree. But we have bass, and it was this past week, and I didn't even physically fish till Monday, dude. That's how sick I am. I was swimming with them Saturday and Sunday. I'm obsessed with the underwater. I love it so much. It's
so for those that don't understand the bass opener this season, you are not allowed to fish until now, June 15th or 20th or 24th or something, right?
Yeah, second.
And so it's off limits. They get a full spawn up there. They get to do their thing, and you are not allowed to target bass in Canada until this opener. And you're out there swimming with them. You can swim with them before that.
Yeah, I
just
have been.
You just can't fish for them, so you're out there having a blast while nobody's fishing for them, and they're like, what's that guy doing down here? And they have zero fear probably back then.
Yeah, but I think our seasons are screwed. Like, here's the controversial part of the podcast. I think it's dumb the way we do it. If you look at it, when is a fish its weakest? Post-spawn. Like, as soon as it's spawned, that's what. So we literally guard them when they're their strongest, and then they spawn, and then post-spawn, they get hammered. Like the lake I live on went from having zero traffic to there's hundreds of boats on the water every single day. And I honestly think I get the idea of a season. And I think, but I just think that the way we do it is kind of, I honestly believe this, and this comes from just watching what happens in the States and what happens here. I think we should have a catch and release season just because I think the average person, again, the average angler, let's say fishes 10 times a year. You're not average. I'm not average,
Right.
So you have to remove us in any experiment. You have to remove the extremes. Well, the extremes are the people that don't do it at all and the people that do it to a sickness. We're them.
Right.
So you take 80% of people. 80% of people probably fish, let's say, 10 times a year. And if you had a catch and release season that was April, May, June, they're still going to fish 10 times a year. Maybe the first few years they'll blitz them early, but they're still going to fish 10 times a year. But what we do is we close it, and then everybody blitzes them for a 3-month period where they just get hammered on. So that's where I think our seasons could look at it from a different direction.
I never ever thought of that being, and the fish are obviously weak and they're spawned out and they're to the point. It's the most vulnerable time for them, and I never thought about that with the season because I've never dealt
Yeah.
with seasons like that.
Yeah. And when they're pre-spawn, I mean, that's when they're at their strongest. You know what I mean? The water's the coolest. The water, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But again, I didn't go to college. There's some people who went to post-secondary education that could probably argue with me.
Nothing for it, my friend, other than the gift of gab and the fact sponsors like it when you say you got a college education if you're trying to get sponsors when you're fishing. All right, well, we got a segment. I'm going to do 2 segments on this podcast. And the first one is I want to hear your best, worst hook story. Everybody's got one. And I don't care if it's you or somebody else, but what's the worst, best hook, worst story for Dave Mercer?
Oh, I'm scared to say this.
You've gotten hooked. Come on,
No.
you've either
Dude,
hooked
I
somebody.
swear to you, knock on wood, I have never been badly hooked in my life. Myself personally, I've had hooks lots of times that I can pull out, but I mean like a bad one.
Who did you hook? Your best. Who did you? The worst you've ever seen somebody hook?
I've hooked a bunch of camera folks over the years. They find themselves in precarious positions. The worst person I ever hooked was my mother when I was a child. And dude, I so lucky that she did not. I hooked her in the eyelid, not in the eye, in the freaking eyelid. And I remember like wailing back and being like, what the? And thank God it was before braid and everything. It was with mono, so there was a little stretch to it. But I remember turning around and just seeing like my mom's eyelid, like, and I thought like she's blind, like I've got her eye, like there's no line trick or anything you can do. She had to go to the hospital, but that was probably the worst one. Maybe it was because it was my mother.
How old?
Oh, probably 9 or 10 years old.
Now
like I was
looking
a
back,
kid.
just firing.
Oh,
Just little
not at
Dave
all.
Mercer. He's gonna put that lure out there. And mom, forget about mom. Mom be damned. She's back there. It's like whack, and you got her in the eye.
Well, if you leave a little extra line out, usually you can get an extra couple feet of your cast. Gets a little more whip.
And you can pendulum that hook at full force into mom's eye. See, that's why I wanted it, because everybody's got a good, bad hook story. And I'm like, I got to hear Mercer's best, worst hook story.
I've taken the hook out of, I think, 9 or 10 different Elite Series pros. That, like, done the line trick on them, just because I'm on the water and people find themselves in a precarious position. But I'm scared. Like I said, I'm scared to say that because I know as soon as I say it, I'm going to call you in a week and be like, I got it in the jugular.
Yeah, you just jinxed yourself. The worst I ever had was a camera guy, the person on the show. We were casting for sharks at Hilton Head, and he sidearmed it and put the shark hook in the camera guy's, one of the JM camera guys, right in the temple, like right in the freaking temple. And we were all there, and he had a giant shark hook and a big giant topwater hanging out of the temple. So I'll save that story for another time. But maybe I'll do that on Mercer's podcast one day. Maybe Mercer will invite me back, and I'll do that. So I'll do that. And the other one, this is a cool segment, which I thought about because I'm going to intro these segments and maybe I'll edit something and eventually we'll have cool graphics and all that because it's primitive. It's primitive, but I think segments would be cool. Dave Mercer, the one that got away. It doesn't have to be a fish, but what's the Dave Mercer one that got away? And I don't care. It could be anything in the world, and you got time to stew with it. The one that got away. Fish, great. A contract, your shot at JM and Associates when you actually made Jerry McInnes upset in another universe, in another paradigm world. But what's the one that got away, Dave?
The one that screams to me is YouTube. And luckily I've been somewhat successful on YouTube, but I look back and I mean, I joined YouTube in, I think, 2008. Like I've been on there like 17 years, whatever it is, like however long YouTube's been around. I was one of the early adapters and we got 35,000 subscribers and it was and I was just putting content up and it was great. It was good. But then I started focusing on TV more. I started focusing on chasing Golden Moose Awards and things like that.
Wow.
And we kind of took, like a lot of businesses, you can only, I mean, it's easy to say you should have kept pressure on here. But when I look back, I'm like, you spent so many years chasing stupid Golden Moose Awards that I don't even think they give them out anymore. And, thinking thinking that's the future, to make this impact. And we did some really cool things and worked with some great camera folks over the years. But when I look at like what YouTube's become, and I mean, we're closing in on half of, like, we've got 500,000 subscribers almost now, and we're closing in on 500 million plays. But if I didn't take probably the most important 10 years off of freaking YouTube.
Wow. That's amazing. I never thought about that, Dave. And I was, I was, to your point, I mean, we were all into television, and I laugh because I haven't heard the word Golden Moose in a long time. But that was the pinnacle. Like, you wanted the Golden Moose Award.
Bottom shelf now.
You got one? Can I see your Golden Moose?
There's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them. I mean, we won a bunch, but they're worth absolutely nothing. I mean, we went to a wicked, like, it was cool at the time, but I just look at it and I'm like, when I look at what, like, guys like the Googans did, like any of those early adapters, and that's why, I mean, timing is so important in everything. I mean, when you look at whether it's a John B or whatever, like, it's easy for people to relate to John B and be like, well, he was a genius. No, he was just a dude making fishing content, no different than you were, no different than I was. That was his option at the time. There was nobody putting him on TV. And luckily, it became a thing. But I definitely think, like, if I had got a mulligan, a mulligan for me would be to go back and say, hey, I mean, doesn't mean you have to stop chasing Golden Moose Awards. You just need to keep posting on friggin' YouTube, and to step away from it was foolish. But I've learned lessons from that. And the one lesson I know that stands true always on social media is be an early adapter. Like, be that guy that jumps on it early, because that's when it's going to grow.
And you were early. That's the thing. I had no idea. It wasn't like me who says, geez, I wish I would have. Like, I was not on YouTube at the beginning. You were in it and you pulled out of it. Instead of, like, you were at the crossroads and you made the decision I would have made too. Like, I would have made the same decision. I would have been like, television's king, television's everything. Is it NBC Sports? Is it the Outdoor Channel? ESPN doesn't want us anymore, but it's going to be television. And I would have not chased you too, but the fact you were in it and walked out, or you went right instead of left, it's crazy.
I'm looking right now. I joined May 8th, 2008. So I don't know when YouTube started, but I think YouTube officially started maybe a couple years before that. But 2008, that's when YouTube was starting to roll. Dude, you could have been
the Mr. Beast of fishing right now. That could have been you.
God.
You
I would be.
Dave Mercer would be the Mr. Beast of fishing.
The
Joe Rogan of fishing.
I'd be a total dick.
You'd be so rich. You would be.
I'm not doing your podcast.
Oh my gosh, untouchable Dave Mercer. Zona and Van Damme and I would be like, oh. That Dave Mercer guy did everything right. He called me one day. The superstar. Wow.
No, I think a lot of people over the years have, but it just goes to show you don't know what the future holds, and I think that's. I mean, if you did know, you'd win every lottery, right? But that's definitely the one that got away. Freaking YouTube.
One that got away. That's you know what? We've just started the show, and you have set the bar very, very, very high, my friend, with not only the one that got away segment, but the hook story as well. Those are two things I'm like, I'm just thinking about a podcast. I'm like, what would be a conversation, for those of us like you and I that don't talk very well. We have no energy. We have no charisma. We don't know what to say to each other. We struggle in front of the microphone. What would be a good situation in a lull to throw out there, which is the hook story or the one that got away? And dude, you set the bar high on both of them.
Well, I'm good at sucking, I guess.
Can we do this again? Because I think we're running out of
anytime. Anytime.
I told you we wouldn't be an hour, and I'm going to look at my thing there, and we're an hour and 12, which is exactly what happens when I do your podcast. We just if anybody wants a 3-hour podcast, Mercer and I can do it easily, and you guys will hate us because we could bore the heck out of anybody in the audience. But Dude, you've come on Fishtails and you've joined me for the very beginning of me doing this. And thank you so much for all of your help guiding me in this endeavor. Because really, you have been just such a great friend. And I thank you. And there was no doubt that as soon as we started this thing, I really wanted to get you on here. And Dave, I can't thank you enough, man.
Well, thank you, dude. I mean, you've always been a good friend, and
I am putting that picture up,
secret
by the
to
way.
life.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. I mean, yeah, for sure. I think the secret to life, in my opinion, is being a good friend to people, and you've always been a good friend to me. And
Dude,
I
it's
thank
so
you.
great to see you. Even though I retired, when I see you and Kevin and Zona, wherever I run into, it's like we run into each other at the elevator. And we talked about this before, not on the podcast, but I may not see you for 4, 5, 6 years. And all of a sudden I see you and it's like you just walked off the elevator after we saw each other the day before. And it's that's such a neat dynamic for those guys, my core group of friends that I used to be with when I was competing. And I love it. So, I know I'm going to see you again a million more times. And Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. We did it.
Anytime.
Well, I love
Anytime.
it. Will you do it again?
Gladly. It was very arrogant. I felt like I talked about myself a lot,
That's
which I
what
don't
the
like.
idea is.
I know, but I don't like it, Byron. I like to talk about other people.
No, Dave, you did so good. I know more about these are the things I wanted, Dave, was I never knew anything before. I'm like, I don't want to hear it until I hear it in front of the audience. So this worked out great. And I'm gonna have a million follow-up questions next time we do it, but I'm bringing you back on for sure.
Anytime.
All right, I got no closing other than Fishtails were out, and here comes the outro because I'm learning how to build an outro, just like I'm learning to build an intro. Thank you guys for joining me on Fishtails, and thank you, Dave Mercer, for being one of my very, very, very first cool friend guests. And we're out.
Fishtails has been brought to you by Livingston Lures. Learn more at livingstonlures.com.